For today's game, I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystara. As far as the arcade goes, the best side-scrolling beat-em-ups that I remember were Double Dragon, Turtles in Time, X-Men, The Simpsons, Golden Axe, Final Fight, and the original Ninja Turtles arcade game. All amazing games without any doubt. But every time I think about my favorite old beat-em-ups in the arcades, my mind always drifts back to Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystara. It was a sequel to Tower of Doom, but upgraded with lots of new features. It takes place 2 years after the events in Tower of Doom. The main bad guy in that one was named Deimos, but now we find out that he was just the understudy of an even greater evil, a sorceress named Sin, who wants to take over the world, and it's up to you and your friends to stop her. Yep, Dungeons & Dragons. So you go through the D&D world, killing all sorts of monsters and bad guys.
Welcome to the D&D world.
Each character has their main attack where they just use their normal weapon. If your weapon connects, you can start a string of attacks that end in a knockdown blow. Then there's the special attacks. You can bring up the item select circle to toggle through the different weapons, and the fighters can throw stuff like daggers, hammers, arrows, and even flaming oil bottles. If you press the jump button while the item circle is open, you get another item circle with even more stuff to choose from. It's crazy the amount of stuff that you can do. So the magicians all have magic as their special moves. The magic attacks are way better than the little dinky throwing knives you toss around. So as far as special moves go, the magicians are far superior. As you progress through the game, your characters will level up and gain experience. As your level gets higher, you're going to be able to use more impressive skills and magic attacks. You can also do Street Fighter type combo moves by moving the joystick with certain motions. One kinda similar to how you do the Hadouken motion, and another by hitting down, up, and attack. You can tap on jump twice quickly, and you'll do a backflip, and you can also do a slide by pressing down, down, forward, and jump. Your character will slide along the ground and pick up items while dodging enemies. And that's just some of the moves you can do. Overall, the control mechanics are extensive and fulfilling. And there's a large number of characters to choose from. First, there's the dwarf, and his main weapon is the axe. He's probably my favorite to use because his attack is really strong, and it's quick too. With all the characters, you can switch between different outfits. I prefer the red dwarf over the blue one. Next, there's the fighter. Like the dwarf, he's also really strong, and his attack range is pretty broad with the sword. It's always good to have the guy with the longer weapon, isn't it? Like in the Ninja Turtles games, I always wanted to be Donatello since he had the bow. Raphael was always my favorite character in the movies and in the TV show because I loved his sarcastic attitude, but for the games, it just always had to be Donatello. Anyway, then there's the Cleric. Playing alone, I don't really like him, but if you're doing the game in multiplayer, then he's pretty good as a healer. He has this little club that's got a really short range, and his magic spells mostly heal, so he doesn't have much going for him as far as being a fighter. Definitely worth using if you're playing with a large group of people, though. He was good for helping you save quarters. Of course, there's the female character in there, which is the elf. She's kind of like a mixture between the warrior and a magician, so you get the best of both worlds by using her. Then there's the two new characters that were not in the original Tower of Doom game, the Mage and the Thief. The Mage, of course, isn't very good at fighting hand-to-hand, but does have an awesome variety of different spells that he can cast. A giant fireball, an ice storm, all kinds of stuff. The mages in this game have an impressive library of spells that you can use, like being able to choose an ice staff or other magic spells. The animations on all the magic attacks are crazy, and it really adds a lot to the fun factor. It's one of my favorite things about the game. Possibly the best is the Meteor Storm. It really kicks ass. Finally, there's the Thief, who is the other female character in the game. When using the Thief, you can open a locked chest without a key, which is cool if you want to go through and find all the treasures. If you play this with other people, the game rewards you for cooperating with the other players. Like if you have one person act as the healer, you'll get further without dying. And overall, it really provides a sense of teamwork, which is what any multiplayer beat-em-up is all about. There's a lot of enemies to fight to keep you interested throughout, and I really like the skeletons because it kind of reminds me of the famous fight in Jason and the Argonauts. And the AI is top-notch here because they do little things like try and block your attacks with their shields, and they give you a general sense of actually being alive. The incredible boss battles are another highlight of the game. The first boss fight with the trolls and the war machine is pretty funny. When you defeat them, they go off the cliff like Wile E. Coyote. I also like the ogre fight. First there's just one of them, and then his brother comes out to join in, and you have to take on two at once. If you choose to go through the forest, you'll fight a floating eyeball that reminds me of that thing from Big Trouble in Little China. And some of the bosses near the end of the game are just unreal. The graphics are stunning, the characters all move beautifully, The backgrounds are full of vibrant, rich detail, and the enemies are all memorable. The beauty of this beat 'em up is that even if you defeat the game, you won't be bored of it because you can always play again and go through with the alternate routes, or try and collect all the different treasures you might have missed. You never know what you're going to find next. Here I found an egg where a beast popped out and ended up being a friend to me and helped me fight the enemies. That was pretty cool. There's so many Easter eggs and secrets throughout the game, it'd be impossible to discover everything the first, second, or even fifth time around. This game seemed to be really ahead of its time when it was released. The characters could level up and get new weapons and spells as you progress through the game. There were special moves like in Street Fighter. It just seemed like there was a lot more that you could do in this game than most of the other beat-em-ups of the era. Everyone remembers Turtles in Time, The Simpsons, and the X-Men arcade games, but I think that this was just as good, if not better, than any of those games. There should have been a version of this game on the Super Nintendo or on the Genesis, but unfortunately it never happened. This was one of the greatest games to ever hit the arcades. If you get the chance, give it a try.